What's going on, guys? It's been a while since I've done like an audio recording. I actually should do a lot more of these because it would make me do a lot more content. But anyway, we have a big fight tomorrow. At least I see it as a big fight tomorrow in the UK between Dave Allen and Arslanbek Makhmudov. This is going to be in Sheffield, and this is going to be on dazn tomorrow. For us on this side, it's going to be in a later half of the afternoon. And I'm looking forward to it. You know, Dave Allen is a guy that I've been kind of watching since, I believe since he fought either Dillian White or Luis Ortiz. But I've been watching him for a while. I know he's a guy that people in the UK love. You know, I've come to like him too. You know, he's similar to one of those guys that, like a Gabe Rosado, you know, even like a Derek Chisora, who is, you know, kind of like a step above journeyman level, but you know, you kind of just always want him to win, and then when he doesn't win, we have like a million excuses on why he didn't win. You know, he's kind of like one of those guys, right? But I really want him to win. You know, he's coming off of the two fights with Johnny Fisher. You know, I thought he got robbed in the first fight. You know, I think it was a close competitive fight, but I still thought it was a robbery. I thought it was a clear win for Dave Allen. And, you know, he obviously stopped him in the second fight. Dave is 33 years old at this point. And, you know, if he is to win, and this fight is like one of the biggest fights in his career. But if he is to win this fight, he'll have an even bigger fight at some point. All right. But I love this fight. It's dead even on the betting odds, you know, the last time I checked. And it's just an even fight, and we just got to see how it's going to go. You know, I mean, you really can't. I mean, listen, as a fan, I want Dave Allen to win this fight bad, right? As a fan. But if we're talking about just logically, you couldn't go either way. You can't really trust either guy here because Dave have lost to people that I thought he should have beaten, right? And Arslanbek, you know, he's 36 years old now, you know, Russian fighter, monster. But he hasn't really shown that he's that great of a fighter. You know what I mean? He just hasn't shown that. The two losses that he has, he's been stopped. Okay. Now, you can make a great case with Kabayel, who I think is one of the top heavyweights that's out there, you know, between him. I mean, besides Usyk, you could make an argument that he might be the second or even third best or whatever. He's around there somewhere, right? And he's coming off phenomenal win. So that's cool. You lost to him, that's cool. But when it comes to losing to Guido Vianello and the way that he lost to him by getting stopped there too, you can't really trust him neither. You know what I mean? It's just like, I never thought he was that good. Is a guy that I never really was a personal fan of. I think he's kind of sloppy and clumsy in the way his fight is. His technique is awful. His balance is bad. You know, he's always overextending, you know, with his punches. He's not an accurate puncher. He's like a monster. He's like a brawler, but he's, you know, he has some tactics in there. Like I've seen him in his more recent fights, I think since he lost to Kabayel. I've seen him take a more tactical approach, but his defense is terrible. And, you know, he's one of those guys that's a big puncher, but he needs his feet to be set, you know, and he can't deal with movers. And that's what comes to the style. And this is why this fight is such an even fight, because when it comes to the styles, right, this is going to be a slugfest, you know, because Dave Allen is not a mover like that, you know. I mean, I had to really go back and look at the Luis Ortiz fight. And, you know, see that we saw a little bit of lateral movement from him. This is a fight where he's not just coming straight forward like he usually is, like he was against, you know, Frazier Clark and David Price and some of these other guys that he's lost to, where they were able to just time him and set him up, use a jab, you know, set him up with uppercuts and stuff like that. These guys were guys that moved well, and they gave Dave Allen issues. You know, they used their distance against him. Johnny Fisher tried to do it, but, you know, he just wasn't durable enough. He just wasn't good enough to keep him away. But when it comes to Arslanbek, he loses to the same type of guys, you know, guys with good movement. You know, Bayel, the first couple of rounds in that fight, I mean, he did the same thing to Zhilei Zhang, right? just moving. First couple of rounds, he's just stabbing you to the body a little bit. He'll give you a good counter, a good overhand right or something, but he kept with the movement. He softened you up a little bit. He did the same thing with Zhilei Zhang. But in the third round, he got serious, and then he just started sitting in the pocket and putting his punches together. You know what I mean? And that's when he really started to beat up Makhmudov. And then, when you look at the Guido Vianello, I mean, he's definitely a mover. He's always been a mover, but these guys had experience. I believe they fought in the amateurs. And Guido, just outboxed him, man. Just beat him up, got him a good cut and swelling on that left eye, and just hit him with the 1-2, timed him pretty easily. Like, Arslanbek is there to get hit. His head is stationary. It's not much upper body movement. His hands are usually low. You know what I mean? He's not really that good of a defender, so he's the easy target, especially when you're moving. But Dave Allen is not a mover like that. You know what I mean? And the thing is, between Dave Allen and I think the best comparison is the Adrian Caballero fight. I feel like Dave Allen, there are similarities with Caballero, the similarities there, but Caballero's a more advanced fighter, right? Much more advanced fighter with the movement. I think he's more durable. I think he's a bigger puncher. I think he's more technically sound. And the most important part outside of the movement is that he knows how to put his punches together better than Dave Allen. Dave has always been a one-punch type of guy. You know what I mean? Single punches, single big punches. He's a good counter puncher. And I seen him in the Johnny Fisher fight. He's throwing more jabs. But overall in his career, and I think I've watched him long enough, he's a single punch kind of guy. His cardio has never been that great. They've always talked about how, you listen to any British fighter or fan that's been following his career much longer than I have. They've always said the same thing. He said the same thing in his interviews. He's a very honest guy. This is why he's liked. He's a very honest guy, very humble guy. When he's not in shape, he tells it all. You know what I mean? He tells everything. You know what I mean? He's a truth guy. And, he's just not, he doesn't have the best cardio. I think his aggressive, come forward type style would be more impactful if he was a guy that threw a little bit more volume. If he lets his hands go a little bit more, I think he would be a better fighter. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, this is an even matchup, because when it comes to Dave, yes, he's a more accurate puncher. You know what I mean? He has the punches that can hurt Arslanbek, in my opinion. The overhand right, he could time it. He's a good body puncher. He's been stopped before, but he's a fairly durable guy. I love the head movement, the upper body movement as he's coming forward, kind of flat-footed, but at least he's moving his upper body, but he does get hit a lot. So where I can see where he can get in some sort of trouble is because he lacks the lateral movement that some of the other guys that Arslanbek lost to. I seen him get pieced up with some uppercuts, some lead uppercuts from David Price. I seen that Arslanbek has added that, and he's been using that lead uppercut in his fights. So I can see that being a problem as Dave coming forward, you know what I mean? Or I don't know who's going to really be coming forward here, but, I think they're just going to run right straight into each other. And then, when it comes to Arslanbek, again, the strengths here is his power, and Dave is a more stationary target for him. So it won't be as hard to find Dave Allen. But the thing is, Arslanbek has been found out. He's been stopped recently twice. You know what I'm saying? And it's only 2 losses. He's been stopped. We know he's easy to hit. But he can really put that power down. And he has a good arsenal of punches. He does have a good lead left hook, a good uppercut, lead uppercut. He has a big overhand right, you know what I mean? But his balance issues, his foot positioning, you know what I mean? all of those kind of like technical little things, the lack of defense, no feints, barely no any jabs here and there. I can see all of that being an issue. And not only that, but, it's like once he doesn't command control early, he doesn't just even going back to the Carlos Taker fight, it's like when he's not dominant, I think he loses confidence in himself. And it's more like a mental game with him, But I think Dave is going to be, what I will say is this. I can't compare him to, what's it, Ajit Kabayel, right? But what I will say is with Dave, I think Dave is more dangerous than Guido Villanello. Sorry if I butchered his name. But I think the lack of movement makes him less difficult to deal with. So I will say that those two guys that Arslanbek lost to, right? Those two guys had a better chance of beating him. I think I made money on Guido winning that fight. I lost on the Ajit Kabayel one. That was a dumb pick. I actually changed my mind last minute on that one. I just went with Arslanbek, right? Thinking too much of the old Ajit Kabayel that lost to Derek Chisora. But I'm a believer now. But when it comes to Dave Allen, right, I think he's less problematic than those two guys, right? But when it comes to Arslanbek and his style, Dave have lost to guys that, like, random guys, he got losses, he got draws, it's a bit messy, and I think outside of the Johnny Fisher fight, I think he lost those. I think he really lost those other fights, you know what I mean? You even lost I think you got a loss with Lenroy Thomas, or I think it was a draw. I can't remember, but I think the second one was a draw. Anyway, like, I think it's a real true 50-50 fight. I'm going to go with Dave only because I feel like going into the fight, the timing is right. It's just something in the air. I'm not overhyping his Johnny Fisher fights because I never really rated him that highly. You know what I mean? I watched Johnny, a few times. I wasn't really that impressed with him, honestly, just being honest. So even though that was a good win, he's failed to show up many times. But I think he will show up here. The fact that he wanted this fight, the fact that he said he was afraid of him, the fact that, this is his last moment, his last chance to really get a big win. I just got to go with him. And I do think he stops Arslanbek. I think either way, someone's getting stopped here. I don't think this is going to a decision. So if you got money on Arslanbek, cool. This is a dead even fight. If you got money on Arslanbek, that's cool. I think if you're going to put money down on Arslanbek, definitely go for the KO. Right? Because these guys, again, this is going to be a fight where it's not going to be much lateral movement here. I think Dave is capable of it, but I just can't see it. I think you got to go either way by KO. And I'm going to go with Dave, not because I want him to win. It's just that, I don't know. I just think he's better overall. I think he's just a little better. You know what I mean? I think he's just a little better of a boxer. But I don't really trust him. But I'm going to put a little bit of money down on Dave Allen to win by KO. All right? Straight up. I'm not going to go by the rounds. I was thinking about the round betting thing. I think he should just start out attacking the body, slow this guy down, soften him up a little bit, and then, go for those big haymakers later. And when it comes to Arslanbek, me personally, uppercut, straight shots, keep the distance. You know what I mean? I think he gets sloppy when he's more on the inside, to be honest. I know he likes to maul his opponents, but I think with distance, a little bit of distance, the 1-2, the lead uppercut, I think those are the punches that will connect for him the best. All right. So that's where I'm going. I'm not going to be live for this, but hopefully I can get on for the Ennis fight and we could talk about recap this fight a little bit. All right, but anyway, good to be back. I will be doing a quick video on Boots and Lima next, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace.